It's the late 1800s, somewhere in England, and this kid, 9 years old, is out on the streets before sunrise selling newspapers. Not because he wants to, because his dad just died and his family has nothing. No money, no safety net, nothing. That kid is Henry Royce, and somehow, against every odd stacked against him, he goes on to build one of the most iconic luxury car brands in human history. This isn't a fairy tale. This is exactly what happened. A childhood that would break most people. Henry Royce was born in 1863 in a tiny village called Alwalton in England. His family ran a flour mill, but they were bad at the business side of things. And by 1867, when Henry was just 4 years old, the whole thing collapsed. The family went bankrupt and moved to London chasing a better life. They didn't find one. At 4, Henry was already working, scaring birds off farm fields for 6 pence a week. Think about that. 4 years old, working. Then his dad died when Henry was 9, and things went from bad to worse in a heartbeat. His mom couldn't handle everything alone, so Henry started selling newspapers in the mornings and delivering telegrams at night just to help the family survive. By the time he was 14, he'd had barely 2 years of formal schooling. 2 years. Most kids today are still figuring out basic arithmetic at that age, and this guy was already a full-time worker trying to keep his family from falling apart. The aunt who changed everything. Here's where the story turns. Henry had an aunt who visited one day and saw something in him, a sharpness, a determination that she felt deserved a real shot. She scraped together enough money to enroll him in an apprenticeship at the Great Northern Railway in Peterborough. It was 1877, and Henry was 14. That apprenticeship was the first real break he ever got. He took it and ran with it. He stayed late every night studying tools, practicing mechanics, reading books on algebra and electrical engineering by candlelight. He wasn't the most naturally gifted person in the room. He was just the most obsessed. 3 years in, the money ran out and he had to leave. But by then, he wasn't the same kid who had arrived. From 20 pounds to a real company, Henry bounced around a few jobs before landing at the Electric Light and Power Company. He was good at his work, really good. By 19, he'd been promoted to chief electrician at Maxim Weston Electric. That's a serious title for a guy who taught himself everything he knew. But then, the company went bankrupt. Again. It was like the universe kept pulling the rug out from under him. This time, though, Henry didn't wait for someone else to hand him an opportunity. He was 21. He had 20 pounds to his name. That's it. And he walked up to his friend Ernest Claremont and said, essentially, let's start our own company. Ernest borrowed 50 pounds from his father, and together they founded F.H. Royce and Company in 1884 in Manchester. Their workshop was tiny. They slept in hammocks above it. They ate sandwiches and sausages every single day because that was all they could afford. Henry worked around the clock building electrical fittings, doorbells, dynamos, motors, and slowly it started working. By 1900, the company had over 100 workers and was turning over £20,000 a year. The poor newspaper boy had actually made it. The car that started it. All but then, the American and German electrical giants arrived in Britain, companies like Westinghouse and General Electric, and they started undercutting everyone's prices. Royce's profits took a hit. The stress wrecked his health. His doctor told him to get fresh air and, oddly enough, to buy a car so he could move around without exhausting himself. So Henry bought a French-made Decoville, and he hated it. The brakes were terrible. The engine overheated constantly. It was noisy and unreliable. For a man who built things with the precision of a craftsman, this car was an insult. He started tinkering with it, adjusting this, replacing that, until one day he realized he'd basically rebuilt the whole thing from scratch, and his version was dramatically better than the original. That's when the light bulb went off. Why not just build his own car entirely? In April 1904, the Royce 10 rolled out of his workshop for its first road test. It covered 50 kilometers without a single issue. It was quieter, lighter, smoother, and more reliable than anything else on the market. Henry built 3 of them. One went to his business partner, Ernest. One was sold to a shareholder named Henry Edmunds, and Edmunds absolutely loved it. He drove it everywhere, telling anyone who'd listen that Henry Royce was the best car builder in England. Enter Charles Rolls, a man from a completely different world. Now here's where the story gets interesting, because the second character couldn't be more different from the first. Charles Rolls was born in 1877 in London's wealthy Berkeley Square. His father was a lord. He went to Cambridge. He was the kind of guy who, at 18, traveled to Paris just to buy himself a Peugeot, at a time when almost nobody had even heard of a car. He earned the nickname Dirty Rolls at Cambridge because of his obsession with engines, which, honestly, is a great nickname. After graduating, Charles opened one of Britain's first car dealerships in 1903, C.S. Rolls and Company, selling imported French and Belgian vehicles to wealthy clients. Business was good, but Charles was frustrated. He wanted to sell a British car, a great British car. He just couldn't find one worth selling. That's when Henry Edmunds introduced him to the Royce 10. Charles was skeptical at first. It only had a 2-cylinder engine, which seemed basic, but when he finally got behind the wheel and drove it, his attitude flipped completely. The car was unlike anything he'd experienced, smooth, quiet, responsive. He reportedly woke up his business partner that same night and said he had just found the greatest motor engineer in the world, the meeting that changed everything. The two men officially met in Manchester in 1904. You couldn't have designed two more different people to put in the same room. Royce was 41, self-taught, shaped by poverty and discipline. Rolls was 26, Cambridge-educated, charming, and from a world of privilege. Yet the moment they shook hands, something clicked. The deal they struck was beautifully simple. Royce would build the cars, Rolls would sell them, and they agreed that every vehicle would carry both their names. In March 1906, Rolls-Royce Limited was officially incorporated. They launched 4 models at the Paris Motor Show. Orders started flooding in. Charles sold cars as fast as Henry could make them. To build the brand's reputation further, they entered racing competitions and won. They broke speed records. The name Rolls-Royce started meaning something. The Silver Ghost and the phrase that stuck. Then in 1907 came the car that made everything else irrelevant, the Rolls-Royce Silver Ghost. It had a 7-liter, 6-cylinder engine, pressurized lubrication, dual ignition, engineering that was way ahead of its time. But what made it legendary wasn't just the specs. It was how it felt to be in one. The engine was so quiet that their marketing director, Claude Johnson, the third unsung hero of this story, could balance a glass of water on the running engine without spilling a drop during demonstrations. To prove its reliability, they drove the Silver Ghost 15,000 miles continuously over 2.5 months without a single major mechanical failure. A journalist, blown away by the whole thing, called it the best car in the world. Rolls-Royce printed that phrase on everything. It stuck. The Silver Ghost became the car of kings, queens, aristocrats, and the wealthiest people on earth. Tragedy hits, and Henry carries on alone. But success always seemed to come with a price in this story. Charles Rolls had never stopped being obsessed with aviation, who taught himself everything he needed to know, who started a company with 20 pounds and a hammock above a Manchester workshop, and who built something so good that over a century later, his name is still synonymous with the absolute best.